Hi everyone, Chris here with the recent vinyl finds video. There's so many fantastic New Zealand records coming out at the moment. I've got some new releases here, I've got some second-hand things I've picked up as well, and news about what's coming up as well. First up, this is Cool Rainbow's Whale Rocket. This is out on Little Chief Records. Just over the last year they've started releasing a lot of their new releases on vinyl, and they seem to be specialising in doing them all in coloured vinyl. So this one looks pretty spectacular on the blue. And Cool Rainbows, like a lot on the Little Chief label, really is kind of I suppose indie pop, and this has got a really lovely kind of hazy end of a summer's day kind of feel. So the opening song, Southern Summer Sun, I think perfectly sums up the feel of the album. That kind of sitting, looking out over the sea, the end of a really hot day, maybe after a couple of drinks. Very kind of hazy, laid back feeling. It's a really nice album from Cool Rainbows. This is Gaytime, In Their Prime. This is a drum and guitar garage punk duo. Kind of reminded me a lot of the Ramones actually, with song titles like If You Break My Heart, I'll Break Your Face, Do You Think I'm Ugly, Free Yourself From Emotional Eating. So this is kind of, as I say, pretty raw garage punk, and it comes in the whole LP in under 20 minutes. Hand-printed screens, hand-printed sleeves, screen-printed sleeves. Another coloured vinyl. This is on brown with splatters of colour through. And the best way to get hold of this is through their Bandcamp page, which I'll put a link to there. And that's it. Both these are fairly limited. In fact, a lot of these are pretty limited releases. It just tends to be a reality with New Zealand releases. They only print a few because they figure that's all they can sell. This is Solomans Ball, which is from, it's a re-release of Bilders and the Bilders. Now he's been putting out records since the very early 80s. I don't know how you describe him really. He's a great kind of songwriter and lyricist, and a lot of these came out. This is really interesting because there's a series of these re-releases or reissues. And there are singles that originally came out on a label I think called Onset Offset, and they came out in runs of 100 7-inch singles way back in the early 80s. And this German label, Unwucht, are now re-releasing them. So they're reproducing the sleeve and the screen print. They're doing a subscription series of 4 EPs. They're researching and putting out liner notes with each of them, and putting them out on 12-inch, and yeah, really nice series. So this originally came out in 1982, and you can probably still pick up the first of the series, and this one is out and the next one's due in a few months' time. And it's interesting that there's that interest in pretty obscure New Zealand music, even within New Zealand, from the other side of the world, and someone's re-releasing that, you know, over 30 years later. Harking back to the same era, this is from Flying Nun. It's Time to Go, The Southern Psychedelic Moment, 1981 to 1986. This is a 2 LP compilation of Flying Nun and Flying Nun related bands from 81 to 86, and it's compiled by Bruce Russell of the Dead Sea, who also ran the Expressway label. And what he's kind of, I suppose, saying with this compilation, with the editing of this compilation, is that there was this kind of deep psychedelic 60s vein running through a lot of that 80s material. So even though the do-it-yourself ethic came from punk, the music itself harked back to a 60s feel, a psychedelic feel, and also talks about the influence of mushrooms on a lot of this music as well. And this is a great compilation of a lot of material which is really hard to find. I mean, you can pick up some of these releases, but they'll cost you, you know, huge money. So you've got nice 2 LP compilation of that here, and that's pretty readily available around the world as well. It's highly recommended. Speaking of Bruce Russell and the Dead Sea, this is an older release. This is the Dead Sea's Secret Earth from 2008, I believe, on Bada Bing Records. I just love this cover of the Otago Harbour. Beautiful, beautiful photo. And this is the Dead Sea getting back, I suppose, to more of a song format. If the Dead Sea ever do songs, you've got 4 tracks on here, all featuring vocals. Not so much just kind of noise. They appear more like songs, but all very lengthy. And yeah, this is I think, you know, if you're going through the Dead Sea's discography and kind of deciding what you like and what you don't like, if you can call anything by the Dead Sea accessible, this is probably more at the more accessible end of their scale, and a really, really good album. Got this as a birthday present. I was really pleased with that. Also picked up a couple of second-hand things. No, sorry, not second-hand. This is older, again, new but older. Fat Freddy's Drop. Huge here in New Zealand. This band releasing material on their own label, independently. Their first album, based on a true story, sold huge numbers. I actually saw some copies of that on 2LP in a store a few weeks ago, and I was waiting for payday so I could get in and get one, and they were all gone by then, and apparently it was just a few that someone found in a storeroom. It's been out of print for a while, so it was a pain to miss out on that. This is the second album, Dr. Boondigga and the Big BW, and very kind of laid back, lengthy, kind of jammy, what we call in New Zealand backyard reggae, kind of dubby reggae jams. And yeah, beautifully produced, really nicely made, great cover, and yeah, picked it up at a really good price as well. Then I've got a couple of second-hand items I found. The Patea Maori Club, Patea, it's a New Zealand classic, huge hit. One of the first times that a song in Te Reo Maori reached the top of the charts, and this is the 12-inch, which features various remixes of that song, Patea, and this has just been re-released actually digitally, but very hard to come across the original 12-inch. I'm going to be featuring that soon actually, and our local library has this thing they do every May, which is New Zealand Music Month, where they have a band play in the library every Saturday morning. And through the radio station, the community station, we've always recorded those and broadcast them and podcast them, but we got contacted by the library, and they said one Saturday, instead of having a band, what we'd like to do is have someone come in and play some New Zealand records because of this vinyl revival. So I'm doing it. I'm doing a DJ set in the library one Saturday morning, and I'm going to be playing a whole range of New Zealand records, some older, some new, kind of getting across a range of styles, and I figure that the disco mix of Patea might get a spin during my set, so looking forward to that. And we'll be recording that as well and putting it up as a podcast, so I'll let you know where you can listen to it. Also second hand, and I've been after this for a while, but it kind of come up at a good price. This is Greg Malcolm, Swimming in It. So Greg Malcolm is kind of experimental avant-garde guitarist. He plays on this 2 guitars, an acoustic and a treated electric, through a bunch of effects and pedals and so on, and this is quite, it's reasonably kind of quiet and mellow, but disconcerting, and yeah, experimental acoustic and electric guitar improvisation. You know, I don't know how much of it's written, how much of it is improvised. Called Swimming in It. It was out on the label Krark, K-R-A-A-K, and yeah, he's also done some stuff with Eugene Chadbourne, who people might know of, and I think a bit of an unheralded talent here in New Zealand. He's done some stuff which is more kind of known on the alternative indie music scene, but this kind of guitar stuff is probably more in the art music circles, but this is a really, really good album if you get a chance to grab it. Also second hand, but in great condition, this is the Ruby Suns with Sea Lion, which came out in, I I think it's 2008, this album, but it's funny, I was looking for a copy of this because I'd seen someone else had one in their Discogs collection and I really wanted to get hold of it, and found the record label that's put it out, which is Academy Fight Song in conjunction with Sub Pop, and their site, they have it in stock, but they only ship to the US. So I found another site which had one, but the shipping costs were pretty high, and then I was out the other day and I was just going past a record shop that I don't normally go to, and I thought I'll go in there and have a look. You know, and then I thought, oh, if I don't find anything, I just felt like buying a record. I thought, if I don't find anything, I'm going to go back to work and I'm going to get on the computer and I'm going to buy that copy of the Ruby Sons. And so I kind of looked through the racks in the shop and I didn't really find anything that took my fancy. And then I turned around and was just about to leave, and there was another rack, and this was sitting right in the front. And it was a fraction of the cost of what I would have paid. It's beautifully put together, packaged in that pink vinyl with the yellow splatters in it. And this is my favourite of the Ruby Sons album. The other one, Fight Softly, is pretty ready available on vinyl. They're working on a new one, and yeah, this is more of the kind of, I suppose, psychedelic pop that New Zealand seems to be specialising in at the moment. And a couple of Sonic Youth related things just to finish off. Lee Ranaldo's album, Between the Times and the Tides. I really like this. I've been playing it a lot. It's no secret that I'm a huge fan of Lee Ranaldo and Sonic Youth and all things Sonic Youth, and this isn't as kind of obviously as noisy and as distorted as you'd get with the Sonic Youth record, but he's a great songwriter and lyricist, and you know, his songs have always been, I think, some of the highlights of the album, Sonic Youth albums. Some of my favourite Sonic Youth songs are ones that Lee Ranaldo has contributed. So I'm really keen on this album, which is out on Matador. And finally, by the way, the thing that we're listening to is the one I showed earlier, the Time to Go compilation. And finally, I picked up Sonic Youth, The Eternal. This is the 180 gram edition. Came out in two different versions, a 120 and a 180. And I've already got this. Didn't come with the Battery Park LP, but I've already got that on vinyl, so I've kind of got the complete set now. I always think with this album that if you've read the book Goodbye 20th Century, a biography of Sonic Youth, you know, it talks a lot in there about how after Goo, the record company was really keen for them to kind of follow up with something that would have some commercial success. The band delivered Dirty, which didn't really do it. There was a couple of songs on there, 100% and things, which they had to go with, but I always think when I listen to The Eternal, how overjoyed the record company would have been if they'd turned in The Eternal following Goo, because it really is Sonic Youth at their kind of more kind of pop and commercial end of their spectrum, I suppose. It was a great album.